This video is brought to you by these YouTube members. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. Hello everyone and welcome to 10 more must resurrect characters on Bleach Brave Souls. While it is in the format of a top 10, it's not technically a top 10 since these characters are in no particular order. This is part 3 of this series, so if you find that a character isn't in here, you may want to go check parts 1 and 2, which I will link in the description below. Likewise, if a character you think should be in these videos isn't in these videos, it's only because there's a lot of characters and I didn't want to oversaturate the video with characters with similar abilities. In fact, they're starting to pile up, so I'm gonna have to do these a lot more frequently. With that said, let's go ahead and get started.
ささやけ村正行こうコーガガキレッコ
Kicking the list off, we have the tag team version of Koga, who has a pretty respectable SP and attack stat. They're relatively high and only 10 points apart. Before Resurrection, Koga had a plus 30 Bruiser and Frenzy. After Resurrection, he has a plus 30 Bruiser, Frenzy, Berserker at 20%, and a low stamina damage ability of 30%, which by the way is very likely to be active thanks to his secondary ability he got when resurrected, Last Ditch Survival at 80%, which when combined with his damage reduction soul trait of 20% makes him a really good link for both PvP and PvE when autoing. And if you're using Koga himself, you're pretty much guaranteed that additional 30% for his low stamina damage ability, which gets applied twice thanks to the Frenzy. Koga is also able to inflict burn on his first strong attack and his special, and weakening on his second strong attack and his strong attack 3, though they are not debilitating. Now you're more likely to use him as a link these days, just because there's definitely better and faster options since his normal attacks do not pierce, but he is still a pretty good character, especially since he has a Vortex move strong attack 2 and a 160 max strong attack 3, which can pair really well together for some massive damage.
よし、頑張るよ。堀姫必殺ウォーターアタック。
Next up, we have the swimsuit version of Horihime, specifically the only one that's been resurrected. Now, this Horihime was at one point a phenomenal character. She's still okay now, don't get me wrong, but they gave her bombardment, which meant she was doomed to not have flurry, so she can only get so good. As a link though, she is amazing. She's got a really high attack stat, a full stamina damage link of 20%, and a strong attack recharge link of 10%, making her a really good link for just about anyone, since full stamina damage increases damage across the board, and even if you take some damage, you still have that 10% strong attack recharge ability. Now, as I mentioned before, the character doesn't have as much damage potential as some of the other characters, but it doesn't mean you can't use her. With full health, she deals 70% on her normal attack and 60% on her strong attack. Not to mention her strong attacks come back faster thanks to her new link, and her strong attack 2 is a barrier move. Plus, she has bombardment and weakened defense on her special, meaning that it hits incredibly hard. Aside from that special, she's kind of a lower grade hybrid character. Even so, she's still more of a link than anything else these days, and I have to say a really good one for a hybrid character. Now, whenever I put a character on this list, it's either because they're a good link, they're a good character, or both. In this particular case, it's because Shojiro went from being a bad character to a really good one, with just a simple addition of Frenzy. Like Koga, he has a pretty similar attack and SP stat. In fact, his are only 2 points apart, at 745 and 743 respectively. He's got Bruiser at 30%, a strong attack damage link of 20%, Frenzy, Havoc, Long Reach at 20%, and debilitating paralysis on everything, effectively making him just honestly a solid character, even by today's standards. Since he can deal heavy damage not only thanks to that Frenzy, but also thanks to his strong attack 3 being a charge move that doubles in strength when fully charged and becomes just beyond full screen. And while he may not have a strong attack recharge link or ability, he does have a pretty decent attack stat and Bruiser at 30%, allowing him to be able to deal damage while he waits for his strong attacks to recharge. He also got a pretty useful secondary link. It's not the best thing in the world, but being able to regain 16% of your total health every time you enter a new area can come in handy, and it's definitely better than any ailment reduction. Finally, there's the fact that he actually has 2 killers, a Hollow and a Captain one. While one is definitely more useful than the other, you'll definitely be thankful if you have them if you're up against Shinji as a boss. Alright, next up we have a character that you only want as a link. Not that you couldn't use him in a pinch if you absolutely had to, since he has Frenzy and, well, just Frenzy. His stats are no good and his range is mediocre at best. Still, you could use him if you had to. Either way, I'm only really here to talk about his link, so this one's gonna be a short one. The Christmas version of Kisuke, as much as we all love his design, and we all love his design, has a crystal drop rate of 17%. Now, crystal drop rate characters are very few in numbers. We don't have very many of them. We did just recently get 2 new ones in Tetsuzaimon and Zairoporo, but then you're kinda stuck using them in a team, and they both have Quincy killers, which rarely comes up. You're better off using this guy as a link, since when he got resurrected, he also got a strong attack recharge link of 10%, meaning you can get your strong attacks back faster and get the benefit of extra drops. If you're like me, you have enough crystals and jewels to last forever, since I never max transcend anything, but for those who do, and for those who are new to the game, he is an excellent link for grinding them.
この程度ですか。私たちの相手ではありません。
Next up, we have the tag team version of Retsu. Now, I've always really liked this character. I cannot tell you why, I just kind of always have. And I used to use her fairly frequently for autoing, not because of speed, but just for reliability. She has a really high SP, even higher now that she's resurrected. Frenzy, debilitating paralysis on everything, including her vortex move that surrounds her strong attack too, and she's got a full stamina recovery ability of 25%, meaning she was very difficult to take out, because not only was she recovering 25% of her total health, 50% with the right accessory, anytime she entered a new area, but her strong attack too meant it was very likely for her to inflict paralysis, since she was and continues to be one of very few characters that has Frenzy and can inflict a status ailment on this kind of strong attack. Her other 2 strong attacks are also fairly decent, with a lunge move strong attack 1 and a full screen strong attack 3. And after resurrection, she also got a strong attack recharge link of 10%, letting her use these abilities faster, as well as solidifying her as one of the better links to equip to a strong attack recharge character if you're going to auto with them, since not only would they get the benefit of strong attack recharge, but also recover a quarter of their health anytime they entered a new area. In addition to that, she also got an ability that increases the amount of damage she deals to paralyzed enemies by 20%, and that's across the board, whether it's her normal attack with 30% bruiser or her strong attacks with Frenzy. Finally, there's also the fact that she's got 2 killers, a Soul Reaper and a Neuronkar one, which is the best combination you can have, since most of the characters in the game fall under one of these categories. My only complaint about this character is that they didn't increase her bruiser a little higher, since I think it would have been a lot of fun to use this character as a hybrid character when she got resurrected. Even so, she can still be a reliable autoer if you build her correctly, as well as an amazing link.
絶対に渡さない。
僕らはずっと一緒だ。
Next up is a character that's just kind of nice to have because they have good coverage. I'm talking about one of only 2 Switch characters in the game, Homura and Shizuku. While nothing particularly special when they first came out, they did get Flurry when they got resurrected. Thank goodness for that, because before they only had a plus 40 bruiser. Now they have a 20% normal attack damage link and Flurry. Their secondary link is nothing special, but with the Soul Reaper killer and the ability to switch from a ranged character to a melee character, they are a very versatile character to have, especially in Senkaimon, when there are occasionally the restrictions on whether or not you can take a melee or ranged character. Not to mention that they can inflict debilitating weakening on all of their attacks, they have long reach, and they're a no affiliation character, which is really nice considering they can switch from melee and range. I know affiliation is a bit of an uncommon affiliation. For that reason and their newfound usefulness, I decided to place them on this list. Here's hoping they get re-released in double team form.
行くぜ飛骨大砲
So I tried to put 2 characters of each attribute on this list, and tried not to get too many repetitive soul traits. And for that reason alone, this Renji is on this list. This is probably going to be the shortest one out of all of them. The character itself is not very good. He has Bombardment, so he was doomed to not have Flurry or Frenzy, and when they resurrected him, they didn't really give him much to work with. That said, he is an exceptional link. He has a 25% normal attack damage link and a damage reduction soul trait of 12%, making him a really solid choice for a PvP link or an auto link. Look, I do recommend you 200 him, if only for the stats in the link, but definitely don't spend any potions or anything too valuable on him. He's definitely not worth those resources.
まだ分かっていないようだな無駄だということがいや
Next up, we have Ganryu. Now Ganryu, similar to Renji, also has a normal attack damage link and a damage reduction link, though his is only 20% on his normal attack damage, as opposed to Renji's 25%. That said, while Renji is the better link, Ganryu is definitely the better character. He has a really high attack of 810, and along with his normal attack damage link, he also has Flurry, actually making him effective. He also has a Soul Reaper killer, which is still the best killer in the game, and he can inflict debilitating paralysis on his strong attacks 2 and 3. Aside from that, there's not much more to say about this guy. He just got really lucky when resurrected because they gave him Flurry, and he's a really good link. Bombardment really is a curse on older characters that have high attacks.
ティーはこれからよ。キャンドルを灯してレッツクリスマス。
Next up, we have the Christmas version of Ryruka, a character I really enjoy using. As I've said before, I really like every seasonal variant of Ryruka, and this one is no exception, definitely one of my top 3 favorites. This Ryruka has a really high SP as well as Frenzy, a strong attack damage link, and as of her resurrection, a strong attack recharge link and Havoc, making her attacks not only more frequent but also have better range, with a now beyond full screen strong attack 3. The other 2 strong attacks also have decent range that also got improved, and they, along with everything else she can do, can inflict debilitating burn. Honestly, she's still viable today, but even if you don't want to use her, she is a remarkable link, since she has both a strong attack damage link and a strong attack recharge link. It's one of the most valuable links to have for a strong attack character, and even though we do have other characters with this kind of link, she is one of the ones with the highest stats that would transfer over to any power character you would link her to. Whether you decide to use her or to link her, she's definitely a character worth 200ing after resurrection.
あんたを一人にはさせねえ。孤独なのは俺だけで十分だ。
And finally, we have the Cacao Society version of Stark. Now, I know that Stark and Ryruka have similar links, his being slightly better since he has a 25% strong attack damage as opposed to Ryuka's 20. I tried to make it a point to not include more than 2 of these kinds of characters on these lists, otherwise the entire list would be full of them, and what's the point of that? Though I did want to include at least 2, and I did want to have them back to back just to get a better comparison. Now, as I said, Stark is definitely the better link, since you get more damage out of his strong attack damage link. In addition to that, he's also the one that deals more damage in general, since when he got resurrected, he also got a 20% Berserker and weakened defense on his special. This brings his strong attack damage to 45% before Frenzy. That said, Ryruka does have better range on her strong attack since he doesn't have Havoc, and she can inflict debilitating burn, and he can inflict debilitating nothing. Either way, he's still a remarkable character to use and to have as a link. He's got one of the highest SPs in the entire game of 829, and he's got a really fun kit with a hybrid melee to ranged normal attack and some of the more beautiful strong attacks. This guy is absolutely worth 200ing if you happen to get him. If not to use him, then as a link. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do plan on making more of these, since at this point there's just a colossal amount and I'm kind of backtracked so I need to. So if you didn't see a character on the first 3 parts, they're likely making it in a future one.